Happy Thirsty Thursday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets presented by So Rare, live on Game Plus Network, as well as our FTN Network YouTube page. The show, of course, also available on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate you taking the time to hang out here on this Thursday. A lot to get to here today on the show. We're going to recap round one of the NHL Draft. We'll talk about some winners and losers. A little bit too early to tell, but we will talk about some of the surprises and some of the prospects and really what to expect from Connor Bedard in year number one with the Chicago Blackhawks. We will dive into a little bit of maybe what to expect in round two. There's been a lot of movement in the NHL. I mean, there was none yesterday in the NHL Draft. It's the first time since 2007 we didn't see a trade in the first round. Pretty surprising. We've seen a lot of trades in the NHL over the last 48 hours or so. Certainly over the last 4 or 5 days, there's been a lot of movement, and there's going to be a lot more movement. You know, if you've been following Dango Badselli with myself and Eric Young, we had Abby Labar on today. We had a really fun conversation about the draft and some trades and some teams that are on the rise and who maybe some teams potentially be calling Winnipeg, wondering if Connor Hellebuck is available. We had a fun convo. I really enjoyed my time with both of them today, but we did talk a lot about the lack of marquee players available via free agency. And I think that's why we're going to see a lot of madness and a lot of trades in the NHL, but none yesterday in the first round. We'll dive into that. We're going to scan the diamond for a few MLB picks and props. It's tough because there's a lot of afternoon action. Mean Streets coming your way on Game Plus Network a little bit later on. There's only 6 games from 6 Eastern on. The Blue Jays are on the schedule for, I believe, a 7:07 start against the San Francisco Giants. You got Chris Bassett on the bump. So we'll dive into some props and some picks. Going to give a little bit of love to Brennan Belt. I know it hasn't been the best start to his Blue Jays career, but I think he's starting to heat up just a little bit. And I love that lefty right-up matchup. And I do project him to kind of be maybe third in the lineup today. So I think he's in a really good spot, maybe to drive in some runs and get an extra at-bat or two. So we'll dive into that. NFL stuff, of course, as per usual. We'll continue the high-stakes leagues, ADP, fantasy football. You're just having a look of where some of these guys are going. I believe we're into round 5. I thought we were into round 6, but we are into round 5, I do believe. Bear with me. A lot has happened here this morning, a couple of shows, and it's okay. It's all right. I'm not Carey Price. I can't believe I took a shot at Carey Price. Man, Carey Price is the GOAT. He's the best. You know how hard it is to pronounce names, especially in the NHL. It's easy to forget them. You guys know, you're hanging out with me. I do this all the time. All the time I mess this up. I forget names. I mispronounce names. Carey Price is not supposed to be able to just say names. He stops pucks. That's what he does. It's his job. Round 5, Quan says, giddy up. But yeah, busy day. Bruce East 91. Busy day. We did All in Football this morning. Jake Seeley and Lauren Carpenter. We did Dangle Badselli with EY and Lauren. I'm here for you guys as well. You guys, I love the support. You guys are always hanging out. Daily Handle with Jordan Allen, maybe one of the nicest dudes in the world. Good afternoon means and everybody. He's always checking in and wishing everybody a good afternoon. So, NFL, we'll look at round 5 and take a look at some of the players that are going in round 5, a couple quarterbacks there. I actually like a lot of players that are going in this range. And we will continue to take a look at some NFL futures. This week, we've looked at quarterback passing leaders, rushing leaders, receiving leaders. And now today we'll take a look at reception leaders, and we'll use DraftKings. We'll take a look at their odds. Prop Shop's your friend. Parlay Calculator, your friend. Both tools free over at ftnbets.com. Save you a lot of cash, a lot of time, and hopefully, a few extra bucks in your pocket. I am going to pat myself on the back a little. I didn't want to do this. George did it, so we'll show it. We had a great day yesterday. On the show, we went perfect. We didn't have all of these picks on the show. I think we had the Phillies, Cleveland. I think we had Kota Senga, but over at ftnbets.com, I followed MLB Dreams suit because this guy is going perfect all the time. Yesterday, we gave a lot of love to Alex Blickel, who has had 7 outright winners, over 220 units won in golf alone. It is not even July yet. Our guy MLB Dream is flirting with 60 units. I think he's won like 40 plus here in over the past couple of weeks. He's hot fire. So I had to step up my game a little bit. We had Logan Allen over 4.5 strikeouts, the Rangers to win on the run line. I think we had that on the show, and the Phillies and the Guardians on the money line. Colby Allard, a shout out to Dream. That was the free bet of the day. He had 4K, I think, through 2. And then Kota Sanga had a really nice showing for him against Milwaukee. And we're going to give a little bit of love to another Mets pitcher today in the same matchup against the free swinging Milwaukee Brewers. But there's a lot going on with the Mets, right? Justin Verlander, I didn't realize we would be this bad. Max Scherzer, I'm open to getting traded. I don't care. These guys, man, like, no, you made your decision. You made your decision. You signed with the Mets. That's it. You're stuck with the Mets. Play with the Mets for the rest of the year and try to make the playoffs. You can't just say, oh, I'm open to be traded anywhere. I'll go wherever I want. No, you went to the Mets and you wanted all the money. That's what you wanted. You went into a division where everybody knew that the Atlanta Braves were the best team in the division. You had to beat them, and you're stinking up the joint. The Mets are atrocious right now. They're brutal. They're not playing good baseball. I mean, the Nationals may catch them. I just don't like when these players, like, you make your decision, and I'm sure they're going to play this contract out, but I see this all the time in sports. I see it more times in football than in any other sport. These guys sign these contracts to get paid, and all of a sudden they don't get the football as much as they want, and they got to get out of town. I see this all the time. Scherzer and Verlander, deal with it. Get it done. Yesterday was pretty good from draft props too. Michkov, man, my goodness, I really wanted the Canadians to take him at 5 or trade back. Didn't get Michkov, but we did get Barlow over 14.5, Moore over 14.5. We had Stenberg there over 25.5, but the Blues took him at 25, so a little bit of a burn there. Tanner and Butt and Danielson, we had those props there. Molendyke is a guy that the reason I had the under 28.5 at plus 145, really good odds there from DraftKings at plus 145, but I think he may be arguably the best skater in the draft, certainly on the blue line. A really good defenseman there, and I thought he had a really there we go. I thought that was a really good pick. So we'll get into the NHL stuff here. Actually, now let's break and we'll talk about the NHL draft. We'll go over the first round, some winners and some losers, and we'll hit up on all the other stuff as well. Here for you guys, if you have any questions, by all means, leave them there in the comment section. At Chris Meaney on the Twitter machine, Mean Streets, ftn@gmail.com. Always looking for some feedback because we want this show to be the best possible show for you guys and want to answer any kind of questions that you do have across all of the sports. All right, Quan. We'll be back in a couple. Throw us a break. Hang tight.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare. Build your teams just like an owner. Buy, sell, or trade officially licensed digital player cards. Build your 5-player weekly lineup, and you could win rewards like tickets, autographed jerseys, and more. The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare, taking Dynasty to the next level.
Welcome back in NHL Draft. Things are happening right now. I hope that we see some breaking news. Again, no trades yesterday in the first round. I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought we'd see some movement. I thought we really would. But yeah, Frank Reilly, I thought I saw him of a Daily Faceoff tweet that no trades in the first round of the NHL Draft since 2001. Quan is breaking news for us. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Do appreciate that, Quan. Bruzeese 91. Yeah, check your email means. I know you're busy as heck today, as always. No, I'm not busy. I love it. This is what I'm here for. I love sports. I'm happy. I've had some pretty random jobs over the course of my life, and this is one that I love. Hanging out with Quan and George and all you guys. Absolutely love it. NHL Draft. Not busy at all. It's just fantastic. It's awesome. I do slip up sometimes, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to carry price it with some of these names. Can we chuck up round one? Do you have it? Oh, I don't know if you have it. You probably don't. That's okay. We'll upload it in the next block. Let's do it in the next block. I actually have it from. Don't worry, Quan. I'll get it. It's from Danglebat Stelly. We'll put it in a little bit. Let's just kind of recap some things here that has happened over the last little bit in the NHL. So Timo Meier signs that extension, 8 years, 8.8 million, 8.8 million with the Devils. I mean, I think it's a fair deal. I think Timo Meier is one of the better snipers in the NHL. I mean, he's fantastic. And the Devils got something special going on right now with their team that we talked a lot about. I mean, it's Abby Labar's new squad. She's adopted the Devils. She said New Jersey's a top 5 destination for her, mostly because of the rise that this Devils squad is on right now. So, I mean, if you look over at Cap Friendly, this is a team that has 10 million, 10.2 in projected cap space. They got Timo Meier now locked up for 8 years at 8.8. They got Jack Hughes locked up for 8 million. They got Jesper Bratt under 8 million locked up. They got Nico Hischier, their captain, down the middle of the ice for another 4 years at 7.25. Andre Palat is a veteran. 6 million may seem a little steep, but they got a nice mix of some young, very good young talent, especially down the middle of the ice with Hughes and Hischier, and then some veteran players. And I don't want to call Timo Meier a veteran. He's only 26, but he's a proven goal scorer in the league. And Andre Palat is certainly a proven experienced player with a couple Stanley Cups on his resume. Tyler Toffoli, same sort of deal. With Tyler Toffoli, what they did acquiring him is they got ahead of the trade deadline. That's a rental. Tyler Toffoli's got 1 year left on his deal at 4.25, won a cup. Everywhere he's gone, he's won. I think of LA with the cup. I think of even just going to Montreal for a season and going to the Stanley Cup finals. I think of him being in Calgary and contributing as well, coming off a season with over 30 goals and 70 points. This is a sniper. I mean, he's a little bit slower than everybody else that I've mentioned on this Devils team, but he's going to fit in beautifully, I think, next to Jack Hughes. And you got the Swiss connection there with Nico Hischier and Timo Meier. The Devils are on the rise, man. Dawson Mercer as well. Dougie Hamilton on the blue line. Luke Hughes we're going to see this season as well. I guess the only question I have with them is in goal. Do they go all in and try to get a guy like Connor Hellebuck from the Winnipeg Jets? They do have all this cap space. I think that they're going to make another move. I'm not sure what move that will be. I think they're kind of set up front. I like their blue line, but they do have some cap space and some wiggle room to kind of make some noise here, whether it's through free agency or via a trade. I like the Devils a lot. I think that they are here. And I think, for me, I always say learn how to lose before you learn how to win. And last year, I believe they learned a thing or two, coming from behind in the first round against the Rangers, which was an experienced squad, winning that series in 7, and then really getting spanked by the Hurricanes in the next round. But again, learning a thing or two. You have to learn to lose before you learn to win. I think about Crosby early on in his career, going to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Red Wings and losing. And then the very next year, going to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Red Wings and winning that time. I think about the Capitals and that young core going all through all that adversity and then finally winning the Stanley Cup. Maybe the Leafs should run it back. I don't know. I don't think that they should. But the Devils, they're here. They are here. And I don't think that we can say that this is a for sure lock and loaded Stanley Cup future that we can all get behind. But I think it's pretty good odds. Got 13-1, moved to 10-1, and is probably the best price you're going to get from now until that Stanley Cup is raised. Now, the Metro, there's a little bit of a change in guard. Like the Penguins didn't make the playoffs last year. We'll see what Kyle Dubas and company does in the offseason. Washington didn't make the playoffs last year. Both of those teams a little bit older, hanging on to that core on both squads. The Crosby and Malkin and Letang and the Ovechkin and Kuznetsov and Carlson kind of hanging on to those cores. But, the Islanders got a lot of question marks. The Rangers, the Rangers should be competitive. They'll hang around. Carolina's always hanging around. The Blue Jackets should be more competitive as well. But there is a bit of a change in guard in the Metro, and the Devils are this nice, young, up-and-coming squad. And I do believe that maybe last year was their just scratching the surface, and teams like the Sabres are on the rise and the Red Wings and maybe the Senators. But I do like where this Devils team is at. And so far, so good here, locking up a couple of their key pieces in the future. Speaking of the Penguins, Reilly Smith traded to Pittsburgh for a third-round pick. Third-round picks don't really value them too much here. That's just my opinion. But Reilly Smith, really good player, of course, was a key opponent to Vegas winning the Stanley Cup, is one of the misfits there, and he is gone. They needed to shed some cap. Of course, they were over the cap, but in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it doesn't matter. They were able to take Mark Stone off long-term IR. Reilly Smith's a good player. He can be on the power play for you on that second unit. He's going to kill some penalties. He's got some speed to his game. I think this is a really good get by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then Vegas turned around and was able to sign Ivan Barbashev to a 5-year deal, $5 million in there per season with Vegas. Some may think this is pretty rich, slightly, but really good player, right? I mean, didn't have the fantastic season with St. Louis this year, but was unbelievable with the Golden Knights into the playoffs. I thought he fit in perfectly next to Marchessault and Jack Eichel on that top line, and he was almost a point-per-game guy throughout the playoffs. Is a good player, a little bit younger, and moving on from Reilly Smith, they were able to make it work with Ivan Barbashev there. Evgeny Dadonov, who the Stars traded at the deadline with the Canadiens for Denis Gurianov. He had a really nice playoff run as well. I thought he fit in perfectly as well with the Dallas Stars on that second line with Jamie Benn, who had a nice bounce-back season, and Wyatt Johnson, who had a nice breakout. I mean, he's a rookie. He can't really break out as a rookie, I don't think, my opinion again, but a really nice first year for Wyatt Johnson. Going to be a great player in the league. And they signed Daddy there to a 2-year, $2.25 per with the Stars for Daddy. Igor Sharangovich was part of the Tyler Toffoli deal, a third-round pick in there as well. A little bit underwhelming of a return, I thought, but 2 years, $3.1 million for Sharangovich. He's going to have an opportunity to play there in Calgary's top six. There was times, where he was next to Jack Hughes, but he was kind of playing 10, 12 minutes a game. He's going to get he's going to get more of an opportunity in Calgary, especially if they move on from Backlund and Lindholm, and Hannafin is rumored to be gone from the squad as well. I think Craig Conroy has his hands full with what could be another year of massive change in Calgary. I'm sure they want to retool and not rebuild, but they may just have to straight up rebuild. We'll break here in a second. We'll get that draft rolling for you guys. Kyrie Irving to meet with the Suns, according to Chris Haynes. Wow. And the Blackhawks have acquired Corey Perry from Tampa for a 7th-round pick. Corey Perry has been he's won a Stanley Cup. 2015, he won the 2015. 2005? 2005, I think he won the cup with the Ducks. He won the cup with the Ducks. I believe that was 05. It was against the Sens. But he went, was it 3 years in a row in the Stanley Cup Finals? He was at Dallas, Stanley Cup Finals, lost to Tampa. Then he went to Montreal, Stanley Cup Finals, lost to Tampa. Then he joined Tampa, and Tampa lost in the Stanley Cup Finals to Colorado. Then he was with Tampa again last year, and they were bounced, early to the Leafs. And he's not gonna win a Stanley Cup or play for one in Chicago. He's probably a little bit bummed, but this is good. The Blackhawks need to bring in some experienced guys to play with Connor Bedard. Corey Perry is an experienced player. He's got a ton of experience on his resume. Olympic experience. The Stanley Cup, as I just touched on, he's been around. I think Bedard needs to it can't just be a bunch of young players on the squad. Now he's got Taylor Hall as a former first-round pick. Corey Perry's been around, a former first overall pick, and it is a good get. Didn't cost a whole lot. Perry may be bummed, but it's good for Bedard to have some balance around some of these guys. Yeah, Perry's he is a beauty, right? He's one of those guys. He's tough to play against. He's in your face all the time. He's he's a pain in the butt for goaltenders in the crease, but he's got tight hands in around the net. He's going to be good on the power play. I can already picture the first unit. Bedard and Perry and Hall. Not bad. We'll talk about Bedard here next. We'll go over round 1 of the NHL draft. We'll be back in a couple. Hang tight.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB. Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
Welcome back. And I didn't even see the Bailey news. Thank you for that, Brzis91. Josh Bailey as well headed to the Chicago Blackhawks. I am seeing here also, what was it, a second round pick also sent that way. Checking out Friedman here. Man, things are happening. Chicago's making some noise. They're doing some things here. And again, they're just trying to get some experience on the squad to play with Connor Bedard. I like it. You can't, like I said in the last block, you can't just have all these, these young bucks on this team and, develop bad habits. You need to surround them with some experience. So yeah, Islanders trade Josh Bailey and a 2026 second rounder of the Blackhawks for future considerations. We also saw the Oilers make a little bit of a move here as well. They sent Kailer Yamamoto and Killem Costin to Detroit for future considerations. Not surprised with the Bailey trade. I'm not the hugest fan of Josh Bailey. I think he's a good player. I'd like to see him shoot the puck a bit more. He never wants to shoot the puck. He's more of a pass-first guy. A very down year for him with the Islanders, and he did have some opportunity at times when they picked up Bo Horvat to play on that top line with Barzal and Horvat. But yeah, for the most part, he was when I watched Islanders play, he was non-noticeable. He was in third, fourth line here and there. So maybe a change of scenery for him. And again, surround Bedard with some talented NHL caliber players. Easy for me to say. And that's exactly what they're doing there. Round one. Here it is from Dango Batselli. No surprise. We've known this for a while with Connor Bedard at number one. Exceptional status. There's only four players with exceptional status. Tavares in 2009, Ekblad in 2014. Of course, Connor McDavid in 2015. Connor Bedard, I mean, this guy is a stud. I love everything about him, man. I love how humble he is. I like how motivated he is. He's always talking about being in the gym. I love his game. I like his playmaking ability. He's got a hell of a release, and he's a really underrated playmaker as well. 3 seasons with the Regina Pats, the WHL. He recorded 134 goals and 137 assists in 134 games. That's 2 points per game for Connor Bedard. What do I think he's going to do in year one as a rookie? I think he can get 25 plus goals, 65 points. I think he can flirt with 30 goals and 65, 70 points. I don't think he's a first round talent in fantasy hockey redraft leagues, but you better be taking him early. If you're starting a dynasty league or a keeper league, he better be, I'm talking early. I would say after, McDavid and Draisaitl and Matthews and Jack Hughes and Robertson, probably David Pastrnak, you got to be thinking about him after that. Like after those few players are off the board in a keeper league, in a dynasty league, in a redraft, he probably will go a little bit earlier than he should. a lot of excitement around him. He's an exceptional talent. The biggest surprise to me was Leo Carlsson at 2. I thought Adam Fantilli for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm not ready to say the Ducks, messed up. I like Leo Carlsson as a player. I really do. I think that he's probably has a higher IQ than Adam Fantilli. He's a little bit smarter, two-way player down the middle of the ice like Adam Fantilli. But I think that there's a little bit of a higher ceiling, higher ceiling for Fantilli. I think he's more of a sniper as a goal scorer. He led all college players last year at 30 goals and 65 points in 30 games playing with Michigan, third freshman in NCAA history to win the Hobey Baker Award as the best player in college hockey. And I think he's ready to play now. And I do believe we'll see him with the Blue Jackets this season. He is, as Eric Young said, a man-child. William Smith, great pick by the Sharks. I think they're one of the winners here, having to trade Timo Meier, most likely moving on from Erik Karlsson here in the summer. They get a really nice player in Will Smith, 191 points in the U.S. National Team Development Program. It's the second most of all time behind Jack Hughes, who had 228 points. Smith had 191. And there's some good names in that list that he passed, right? Clayton Keller, Cole Caulfield, Phil Kessel, some really good names on that list. Will Smith there to the Sharks at pick 4. And then 26, Quentin Musty is a really nice player I like as well. Good draft, good first round for the San Jose Sharks. David Reinbacher there to the Canadians. And I know all the talk yesterday was about Carey Price and this pick, and he was a former 5th overall pick as well in 2005 for the Montreal Canadiens, and he announced the pick. And I think honestly, he just wanted to say Michkov, and he just couldn't bring himself to say David Reinbacher. But feel for Price, as I said earlier, it's tough to. These hockey names are extremely tough, right? It doesn't seem like a very tough one, but it's tough for players to speak. Not a lot of how many times you see these interviews and the athletes. I don't want to say that Price doesn't have zero personality, but it's tough for some of these guys to, speak when the camera's on them and the microphone is in front of their face. But nonetheless, Price is a good sport. Took to Twitter and said that was embarrassing and all good. As for the pick itself, as a Canadians guy, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I did want Michkov. I wanted Leonard. There's so much talent up front. It was a little bit bummed that they passed on some of that talent, but listen, I think that there's maybe the most important position in the NHL is in goal. Goalies are kind of voodoo. It's tough, right? It's certainly tough to spend the draft capital, I think, on a goalie early on in rounds, but Price was maybe an exception. And at the time when they drafted Price, there's a lot of people that didn't like that pick. Oh, they have Cristobal Huet, they have Halak. Like, Price is a superstar. The guy was an absolute baller. I think maybe the second most important position is down the middle of the ice, center. You can argue that it's the most important position. And after that, it's a right shot defenseman. Even my Habs buddies are telling me, Meaney, don't give me the right shot defenseman. They needed a right shot defenseman. They passed on very talented players here, like a Michkov who falls in Philly's lap at pick 7, like a Ryan Leonard there. Those are two guys that Montreal was linked to, but you know what? I think if you're building a team from scratch, and that's really what Montreal is doing here, they're not going to be competitive again this season. They have some nice prospects up front. They got a couple young players on their current roster, Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. They got some really nice left-handed defensemen in Caden Gooley and Lade Hudson and Jordan Harris. Barron is a guy that they got from Colorado, is a right shot defenseman. Logan Malu is a guy that, has done some good things with the Knights, some off-ice issues. I don't really know what his future is like in Montreal. You need a right-handed defenseman. You really do. And again, this is not a sexy pick. And, he's an Aussie guy, and you don't really see a lot of Aussie guys in the NHL, and especially this early in drafts. Thomas Vanek gave him a nice little shout out. That was cool to see, I'm sure, for him. But ultimately, you need a right shot defenseman. You need to build, if you're building a team from start to finish, you want to have stability on the blue line. You got to get the puck out of your end and move up. Look at the Hurricanes. And I kind of poke at the Hurricanes because they can't score goals. I don't find that they score goals easily. Like, if you look overall, yeah, they generate a lot of shots at 5-5, and they have been among the leaders in the Eastern Conference over the past couple of years in scoring goals, but those goals kind of dry up in the playoffs. And they have a good core on their blue line. They have built through the draft, for the most part, Pesci and Slavin, like, they have built their blue line through the draft, and the Canadians are going that route as well. And I think Caden Gooley and David Reinbacher is a really good young 1-2 punch potentially as a top pair for the Canadians, whether it's Lane Hudson as well, who continues to light the world on fire. I mean, he broke a lot of like Adam Fox and Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. He broke all those records playing with Wisconsin University hockey as well, and the U.S. team development program as well. A lot of U.S. and Russian players in that draft last night. Anyways, that's all I'm gonna say about the Canadians. Yes, I'm bummed. I had this Michkov. That's what I was. I guess I was just hoping. A lot of scouts, Corey Prownen, want to give him some love over at the Athletic. He's fantastic. A lot of scouts and guys that have watched a lot more film than me, they liked the pick at 5, and they had Montreal making that pick. But that's where the draft did get interesting. Arizona followed it up with, I don't know, I don't want to say it's a bit of a reach because you don't know. Dmitry Shimashev is a guy that I really like. Is a two-way defenseman, big body. Arizona clearly needed a defenseman. They need a lot, but moving on from Jacob Chikrin, we said yesterday we thought that they would take a D at 6 or 12. A lot of people thought that maybe he would be available to them at 12, but they go and get their guy, and that's it. You hear things all the time. Why didn't Montreal trade back? Why didn't Arizona trade back? Well, maybe nobody was willing to move up. Maybe the price wasn't great. Maybe they didn't want to miss out on their guy. They wanted to get their guy. They liked that guy. And Kent Hughes talked at length about how they wanted a right shot defenseman. They're hard to come by. Nobody wants to give them up. They got one there, and David Reinbacher. And Shimashev, I think, is a really good defenseman. I like the butt pick here as well. He's like a 6'5". He reminds me of Tage Thompson. Maybe a little bit of an unfair comparison or comp, but maybe Alex Tuck is more fair. But a 6'4", 6'5", big body who's got hands in tight and can shoot. That's kind of Tage Thompson. Washington. I like all these picks here. Dvorsky is a great name to say. I love Dvorsky, like center heavy here in the first 10 picks. Brendan Yeager, I thought was a good pick as well to the Penguins. Zach Benson comes with some speed there to the Sabres. Matthew Wood is a sniper to the Nashville Predators. Chicago got another pick there, and Oliver Moore, who's a little bit undersized as well, but two really solid centers there in the first 20 picks there for the Chicago Blackhawks. Really felt old last night. Anybody else? Dating myself here, but Oliver Bonk, who is Radek Bonk's son, gets taken by the Flyers there at pick 22. And then Yannick Perreault's son, Gabriel Perreault, to the Rangers at pick 23. Really just dating myself, but I was watching the draft last night like, whoa, man, those guys look like their daddies. I love the Molendyk pick there to the Predators, which, we touched on in the other block, had the under 28.5. I think he's maybe the best skating defenseman in the class. Really, he's got some high, I think he's got a high ceiling, nice upside pick there. And there was a question here from Daily Handle about Easton Coward. Not going to lie, I don't know a whole lot about him. I did some research on him last night. I know he played for the London Knights. Watching his film and his tape actually kind of reminded me a little bit of another former London Knight, current Maple Leaf, and Mitch Marner. He's a playmaker. He's a little bit undersized. I know the Athletic had him ranked in the 90s. A lot of scouts had him outside of round 1. Had a good second half, and I think that second half that he had last year played himself into a potential late first round pick. And Tree Living said it's a long time away, and I don't think you need to get discouraged by hearing that. I'm in some chats with Leaf friends, and they say, "Oh, great, he's a long way away. He's 2 years away from being 2 years away." I know we heard that in Toronto a few years ago in the NBA draft, but a lot of those kids are a few years away. They're just kids, man. Like they're underage. It's not like the NBA. It's not like the NFL. You're going to see these guys, right away. We're only going to see a couple of those guys. We're going to see Bedard this year. We're going to see Adam Fantilli. There's a lot of players there that are going to go back to university hockey. There's some players that are playing overseas that you're going to have to sign contracts and get them away from the KHL. Michkov, I don't know. That's another guy. We're not going to see him until maybe 2026. The Flyers are completely rebuilding. That was a great pick. Fell in their laps. Got a superstar player who, at times in 2018, there was talk about, I don't even know if it was 2018. I think it was more like 2001. There was at the under 18. Michkov was the MVP of that tournament, not Connor Bedard. there was talk at that time. It was really close. Now Bedard is pulled away from him, and he should have been the clear-cut number one pick. But Michkov is a heck of a player. I wonder if he was pulling the Yammer Yager. No, I don't know if I'm going to come over to a North America team. I'm not sure if I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe he was telling teams like Anaheim and Columbus and San Jose and Montreal, not really feeling it. But then he falls into Philly's lap, and the Flyers are so, I say Phillies, the Flyers are so, they're not even close, but good pick. Good pick. Would have liked to seen it. Potentially as good as Marner. Did not say that. That would be good, but needs to be tough. Did not say potentially as good as Marner. I said his game kind of reminds me a little bit of Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner was a top pick in the first round a few years ago. Mitch Marner is fantastic. Say what you want about his playoff, the lack of production he's had in the playoffs and the style that he plays. He's a phenomenal player. And I don't want to say that Easton Cowan's going to be that guy, but we'll see. That's who he reminded me of anyways, Jordan, when I watched his tape. I think maybe a slight reach, but hey, at least the Leafs had a first round pick, right? They've been trading a lot of first round picks lately for Nick Foligno and other guys like that. Nick Foligno is another experienced guy for the Hawks. They're building something around Connor Bedard. Not going to be competitive, but again, they're building something, get some talent there. Chicago doing it right by bringing in these vets on cheap. That's I agree with you there. All right, enough hockey talk for now. Some people bouncing out of the chat. If you're here for some MLB picks, we'll do it in the final block. We're going to turn our attention to the NFL. We're going to take a look at round 5 of high stakes leagues and also take a look at the reception leader odds via DraftKings for the most catches in the NFL this season. That next here on Mean Streets. Keep her locked.
The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare. Build your teams just like an owner. Buy, sell, or trade officially licensed digital player cards. Build your 5-player weekly lineup, and you could win rewards like tickets, autographed jerseys, and more. The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare, taking Dynasty to the next level. The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare. Build your teams just like an owner. Buy, sell, or trade officially licensed digital player cards. Build your 5-player weekly lineup, and you could win rewards like tickets, autographed jerseys, and more. The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare, taking Dynasty to the next level.
Back in. Yeah, Quan's got some breaking news for us in the NFL. We talked about this, I think, earlier in the week. There's some reports. So I do believe I'm seeing here, 4 Colts suspended indefinitely through at least the 2023 season for gambling, according to ESPN. Isaiah Rodgers, one of those players as well. Upwards to 100 bets were placed, including at least one wager on a game involving the Colts. I bet you it was a loss. Maybe it's not even good to joke about that stuff. It's tough. I mean, there's I don't know, man. It's a fine line, right? These NFL players are gambling. They want to make some bets. Some of them have made bets inside the facility, which is a no-no, like Jameson Williams, I think, according to some reports, and Calvin Ridley missed an entire season. Yeah, it's I'm not really sure what to say about that, but I guess if you're a Colts fan, at least it wasn't Jonathan Taylor or, Michael Pittman or Alec Pierce or somebody like that. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, the Colts have just waived Rashad Berry and Isaiah Rodgers, according to Shefty. So they're gone. That's it. Can't be doing it. It is a fine line. But yeah, We do have some MLB picks a little bit later on if Isaiah is looking for some. Kyrie Irving meeting with the Suns. How is that going to work? How is that? How? I don't understand how they can fit everybody in. What's going to happen? Is he just going to go for like just minimum contract? Is he wants to be with KD again? What's going on there? Kyrie and KD and Beal and Booker. Goodness, they're gonna have to sign some like players on just minimum. I thought they were like Jabari Parker and some other guys they were into. They're gonna have to get some of those players on like a small contract, but I just don't see how that's gonna work. But interesting to see Kyrie meet with them as well. Like it's Lakers, Rockets, or Mavs. That's your guesses. Those would be mine as well. Although I'm not really sold on the Lakers. The Rockets have all that cap space and all that money, but does Kyrie want to win? I don't know. I'd honestly like to see him stay with the Mavs, but I agree with you. I don't think he's going to go to the Suns, but it's just the thought, right? Just the thought. I mean, great for NBA 2K. Couldn't beat me with the Suns. Couldn't beat me with the Suns. They have all kinds of shooters on the squad. I'm not very good at that game. Okay, we're going to take a look at let's do the reception leaders via DraftKings. The odds here: Cooper Kupp up at the top at 5-1. Cooper Kupp, I mean, 2 years removed from an unbelievable season, but Cooper Kupp was the fantasy point per game leader last year among wide receivers. Believe it or not, it was not Justin Jefferson. It was not Devontae Adams. Is Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp had 75 grabs in 9 games last season. Justin Jefferson led the NFL with 128 catches. He did lead the NFL in targets as well. Jamar Chase is 6-1. Jefferson's plus 650. Devontae Adams at plus 750. Tyreek Hill at 8-1. Tyreek Hill is, I don't think you want to go down that road. You know, there's some off-field stuff with him. It's just a risky bet. Travis Kelce in there. And Travis Kelce will be probably the tight end leader in terms of catches, but ultimately don't believe that he is going to lead the NFL in catches. Stephon Diggs at 12-1. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a pretty good bet. We talked about this yesterday. I believe there's been some movement, but at 20-1 for Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had 106 catches last year, which was tied with Austin Eckler and CeeDee Lamb for the most in the NFL. And Travis Kelce was 110, by the way, which was inside the top 3. That's not a slight on Kelce, but I don't think I would go there. But Amon-Ra, in the slot, I like that bet there at 20-1 for him to lead the NFL in catches. No Jameson Williams for the first 6 weeks of the season. Marvin Jones on the squad is not going to, be a big target hog there. Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot, really good player, man. Really, really good player. And I like that bet at 20-1, even though there's been some movement. Eckler at 20-1. I know that he had 107 grabs and, his involvement through the air, but I still feel like the Chargers are going to bring in a veteran back, whether it's Zeke or Fournette or Kareem Hunt. I don't think it would be Hunt. I think it would be like a Zeke or Fournette, like a guy that, can maybe take some touches on first and second down, touches away from Austin Eckler. Is just so amazing through the air that, Kareem Hunt kind of is as well. So I don't know if that'd be a good fit, but 20-1 is a little bit of a reach. CD at 25-1, I think is worth a little bit. Yeah. Daily handle. He knows. I agree. I think it's worth a bit of a sprinkle here. I think that adding Brandon Cooks to the squad is great for CD. You want to have somebody opposite of CeeDee Lamb. There was nobody opposite of CeeDee Lamb last year, and I really felt that in the playoffs against the Niners. I mean, CD had a double-digit target game, and he was really peppered by Dak, but no Dalton Schultz now, some inexperience at the tight end position. Brandon Cooks is a good player, but I don't view him as a big target hog either. Michael Gallup, maybe he can bounce back a little bit. Not a great season from him, and other guys that they've drafted over the past couple of years, like Tolbert, and I think Fudoku. I think he's somebody else that I'm mind slipping, but they just haven't shown that they can be that number 2. And I think easing off some attention, Cooks is good enough to ease off some attention of CD, but CD is going to get a lot of targets. I think he could be top 5 in targets, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? When we bring up that list again, we want to see, are they number 1s on their team? Are they target monsters? Are they going to get a lot of volume here? And don't forget McCarthy's calling the plays in Dallas, run, conservative play calling. Schottenheimer there now as the OC, but McCarthy is going to call some plays. Kellen Moore, and they're going to run, but who are they going to run with? Are they going to give Tony Pollard 20-plus carries a game? He's only had one game with 20-plus carries, and I don't know if he's built that way. I know that there's a lot of Pollard truthers out there, and I'm one as well. I think he's a really good back, but I also believe that Dallas is going to bring in a veteran back on the cheap. I do. I know they cut Zeke, but they cut Zeke because he was making too much money. They drafted Deuce Vaughn in the 6th round. They got to bring somebody in. I do believe that they will. But CD, I think, is a good sprinkle here at 25-1. Just too much going on with in Seattle with Metcalf and JSN and Tyler Lockett in there. Hawkinson, I'm not really buying that. Keenan Allen hasn't shown me they can be durable really in the NFL. Deontay Johnson, not doing that. How about these two Philly boys? And I know what you're saying, Meaney, stop it with Philly, stop it. But what we said yesterday with these two guys, inside the top 10 of receiving yards last year, 88 grabs for AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Not near that mark, but as a guy, actually he had 95. I knew he had more than AJ, and really is, I think, a better route runner than AJ Brown. I think he's got really good hands, and the division is going to be much tougher this year, so they will have to throw a little bit more. I think it's decent value there for either one of those guys, and I would lead Devontae, the Slim Reaper, at 50-1. But just to recap here, I think I even think JJ at plus 650, right, as a clear-cut number one option there. I think the Vikings defense will be a little bit better, but they still have some holes, and Dalvin Cook not on the squad, so maybe just more passing. Justin Jefferson at plus 650. I think Amon-Ra at 20-1, CD at 25, and I would go with Devontae there at 50-1 as well. My one issue with Hill is that I just don't trust him. Some off-field stuff. Yeah, target hog, really good season. Showed me that he's quarterback proof, but I just don't. He's in the news all the time with some off-field stuff. I just think it's a little risky. We got a break. I want to show you guys round 5 of high stakes leagues. Quan says I'm on fire, but I don't think that I am. We'll break. We'll cool off in the next clock. Speaking of more sons to make us feel a lot older, Cole Knuble, son of Mike Knuble, goes to the Flyers at pick 103. Of course, with Mike used to play with the Flyers as well. And then the Habs drafted Arbor Jackie's brother, Florian Jackie, with pick number 101. So double Wi-Fi coverage for the Canadians. That fires me up a little bit. And I think when you're making some sprinkles, I only showed you guys like the top 20 because you only fit so many people on the board. I think it's like there's something to be said about like putting like pizza money on some of these other guys, like let's say Chris Olave at 65-1. What if Michael Thomas can't stay healthy this season? T. Higgins at 65-1. What if Jamar Chase suffers another injury? Jalen Waddle at 65-1. What if Tyreek is in some trouble or an injury happens with Tyreek? That's where I would be looking. Like Chris Godwin 65-1 in the slot. Like there's going to be some spotty quarterback play in Tampa Bay this year with Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. But what if they decide to move on from Mike Evans? Mike Evans has had some hamstring issues over the course of his career. Like, listen, I don't want to be that guy. I hope everybody stays healthy in the NFL. I root for just complete success for everybody, but injuries happen. What if Tampa realizes, oh my goodness, we stink so bad. We're 0-5 or 0-6. We got to move on from Mike Evans. We just have to. Like that could happen. Godwin in the slot. It's an easier completion for these quarterbacks in the slot than it is chucking the ball downfield, 10.4 yards on average to Mike Evans. So I would just take some shots and some Christian Watson 75-1. I can't believe I didn't even bring that one up. Christian Watson 75-1. Like, absolutely. It could be the number one option in Green Bay this year on a team that may have to chuck the football. So I would, sprinkle a little bit on that and not hope for injuries, but if they happen, things could fall your way. Round 5, high stakes, NFFC before we break, and we'll talk some MLB here. So Terry McLaurin on average, pick 49. ADP of 48.96. Trevor Lawrence, again, this is a 6-point passing league, so some of these quarterbacks going a little bit earlier. But you guys know I love T-Law. I love Trevor Lawrence. You can't jinx him, George. You can put him on the graphic, every graphic, all you want. There's nothing you can do about it. T-Law's he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen in the NFL. I truly believe that. Aaron Jones, I think I'm out. I don't know, man. Like Aaron Jones he's been losing touches on the ground over the past couple years to AJ Dillon. He hasn't had a lot of rushing touchdowns over the past couple of years. Yeah, he may catch a lot of passes. He's great through the air. He probably is the lead in Green Bay in terms of touches, but I think, AJ Dillon may just start to overtake that backfield. Aaron Jones is a guy that I feel like could be on the move. There's not a lot of trades in the NFL, but I feel like he's a guy that could potentially be on the move. AJ is a guy that's going to garner first and second down opportunities and goal line touches. I just don't know if I'm there on Aaron Jones at pick 51. Same with Joe Mixon. Lead, going to catch a lot of passes, not super efficient. He had a 5 or 4 touchdown game last year. Other than that, he was kind of very mediocre. I think it's a little bit too early for me. Christian Kirk, there's just a lot going on in Jacksonville. I just want T-Law. Ridley, great. Kirk, awesome. Ingram, great last year. Zay Jones. Just give me Trevor Lawrence. It's like Jake says, get the cake, not the icing. Get the cake is Trevor Lawrence. The icing's all the other pieces. Christian Watson, I love. Just 5th round. Just give me him. All right, Christian Watson last year. I went and looked from week 10 on. Christian Watson was a wide receiver 7 in fantasy football. Wide receiver 7 from week 10 to week 18. Only 3 players had more fantasy points per game at the wide receiver position than Christian Watson from week 10 to week 8. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and the other one is escaping my mind, but AJ Brown. But it doesn't really matter if it was AJ Brown or not. 4. That's it. Number 4 from week 10 to week 18. I'm telling you, this guy is a beast. And he reminds me of Mike Evans. He's the clear-cut number 1. Don't worry about Romeo Doubs. The guy that you should be worried about would be Jalen Reed. I'd like him overall. I think he's going to be a good wide receiver for the Packers, but he is just a young buck. I don't worry about Love. Christian Watson, it's a very small sample. I know we got a lot of touchdowns with a future Hall of Famer quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, but Christian Watson is a guy that, give him the ball and he can blow the top off of defense. He's sneaky speed, big body receiver, struggle with drops. I get it. A lot of good wide receivers in their first year struggle with drops, but Christian Watson is one of my favorite targets. And the way that I attack my drafts, wide receiver, Nick Chubb, or wide receiver, and then running back, if I don't go Nick Chubb, in round 5, Christian Watson is my 3rd wide receiver. And it's such a good feeling. I really have high hopes for Christian Watson this season. And you guys all know we won a lot of consolation brackets with Christian Watson last year. Chris Godwin in there, George Kittle, Dalvin Cook doesn't have a team yet. Pretty good steal here, I think, in the 5th. I do believe he's going to go to Miami. That's my guess. As of today, Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins are favored to go to New England. They did sign Devontae Parker yesterday. Not loving that. Michael Pittman there at 58. J.K. Dobbins, I think, is a really good pick here. Mike Williams, I think, just depending on how your draft goes, he's very boomer bust. So there's a little bit of risk with Mike Williams. So if you're drafting some guys in the first couple of rounds, like that have had some injury issues, not a solid floor, Maybe you want to stay clear of Mike Williams, but if you got some guys with a solid floor, Mike Williams certainly some boom weeks for him as well. And it's a good offense, and I think Kellen Moore is going to untap the potential that Herbert in this offense does have. So a lot of good targets on there. Lawrence, yes. Watson, yes. Godwin, I think, is okay, especially in a full-point PPR league. Cook, yeah. Some uncertainty. J.K. Dobbins, yeah. So there's some good ones in there. Some others I pass. I think I'm out on Michael Pittman. I think it's be a run first offense, and who knows, like Alec Pierce, Downs. I'd rather take some shots on those guys later on in my draft, and I think they'll lean on Jonathan Taylor in that run game this year. We're gonna break one more time, and we got some MLB picks to wrap up Mean Streets. See you in a couple.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB. Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
There's no way we go perfect today. There's no way every time George makes a graphic like that, we pump my tires. Like, proceed with caution, guys, here. But the Astros over 5.5 runs. We're going to pick a little bit on Adam Wainwright, who's going to take the ball for the St. Louis Cardinals. His hits allowed prop is 7.5. Before we got on, it was 6.5 at like -165. Vegas is expecting him to allow 6 or 7 hits. It's 7.5 at +110. I don't know if he allows 8 hits, but he's got an 83% contact rate, which would be the highest in baseball if he had enough innings to qualify. He doesn't strike out anybody. The Astros don't strike out a ton. No, their offense is a little bit inconsistent lately, but I do like them to not only win this game today on the money line at -124, but I like them to score 6 runs over 5.5 runs at -105. Giving a little bit of love here to Brennan Belt over 1.5 total bases for Brennan Belt. Brennan Belt is not having a great season. There's no hiding that. He's striking out 37% of the time this season, but he's a platoon guy, and I always consider him in DFS or for props when he's up against a right-handed pitcher. Keaton Wynn doesn't have a lot of innings on the resume, but so far a very small sample, but high contact guy, struggle with a little bit of command. For Brennan Belt, again, only hitting 263. He's got a 6-game hit streak, back-to-back games with a double. He's hitting 275 against righties. All 4 of his home runs have come against righties this season. All 16 of his doubles have come against righties this season as well. So, I mean, this is a good spot for him. He's probably going to hit 3rd in the lineup, and his over 1.5 total bases is +143. You don't get that too often. His single prop, like just to have a hit, is like -189 if you want to do some parlay stuff, but we can't get behind that. It's just too crazy of odds to take as a single. But ultimately, I think he's going to get a couple bases here today. I think he's sneaky in DFS, and I think the Jays will win with Chris Bassett on the bump, and I think that they could. I was thinking about the over 5.5 on their run total, but I went with a bit of a prop here in Brennan Belt. So again, all 16 doubles and all 4 homers against righties, and he's +540, by the way, to get a home run. So maybe a little bit of a sprinkle on that. As for Scherzer, 76 punch outs in 70 innings, 9.68 K per nine. It's not fantastic, but he does have 2 starts in a row with 8 strikeouts, 1 against the Astros. He struck out 10 against the Braves. He's actually had 8+ strikeouts in 5 of his last 6 starts. And we know about the Brewers. We did this yesterday with Kota Senga. Milwaukee's a free swinging squad, striking out 26% of the time, which is the second highest mark in all of baseball. Kyle Hendricks is a contact guy as well. 83% roughly for the last 3 years of his career. So I think the Phillies will have 6 hits against him as well. Over 5.5 hits, -139. Good luck around the diamond. We'll be back tomorrow. We're doing a best ball draft on Underdog Fantasy. We'll have some fun, I think. Have a good one. Cheers.